Just as the ancients searched for the philosopher's stone, which would transmute all metals into gold, and for the elixir of life, which would make life eternal, so some people dream of a perfect food. Some scientists tell us that the customary method of taking food through the mouth will be discarded in the future. It has been forecast that food will be taken into the body by means of drops or tablets or injected through the bloodstream. Little do they know in their ignorance that by so doing humanity would destroy itself. I would like to suggest that we already have a perfect food, a food so carefully compounded by nature that it is all sufficient for mankind. Unfortunately, for the best results, the food I refer to has to be consumed under the appropriate conditions and where it is grown. Nevertheless, even though we may not wish to live wholly on this food, we can make better use of it than we do today. I discovered for myself the virtues of this food in North Queensland. I met a naturopath on Magnetic Island, 7 miles off the coast near Townsville, which is 1,000 miles north of Brisbane. On one of my many visits to this island, I learned to appreciate the tropical fruits which were grown there. This naturopath had a small sanitarium and an organic farm at Nellie Bay. In order to appreciate the food I want to tell you about, you must know something of its background. Have you ever sat on a tropical island under a tall coconut palm? Have you ever marveled, as I have, at the wonder of this structure? The crude beauty and strength of this single flexible trunk with an umbrella of palm leaves on top? Where the beautiful coconut palm grows best, there is usually a beautiful beach. The roots are firmly embedded in the soil. They are nourished by the salt water of the ocean. The leaves are continually being bathed by the gentle spray of the salt air. These trees are healthy and long-lived. They are examples of a perfect adaptation of a living organism to its environment. But then the naturopath goes more deeply into the history of the coconut and analyzes it for chemical elements. He finds it rich in minerals. A coconut tree will bear 5 years after planting. And here is an interesting fact. When coconuts are planted, they are not buried in the soil, but laid on top. This is in accordance with the best principle for organic agriculture. Now here is another interesting fact. A coconut tree will produce 1 coconut for every day in the year. 1 coconut a day will provide sufficient nourishment to keep 1 man in good health, and the person living on the coconut will be as healthy as the tree on which he lives. We believe that at one period of his evolution, man lived in the sea, and the sea contains all of the basic elements required to sustain the life of man. I believe that it is partly because man has strayed from the tropical seashore that his body has become chronically debilitated and diseased. Man has evolved. He cannot now live on the products of the sea, but he can live on the products of the land fed by the minerals of the sea. I believe that the coconut is destined to play a major role in the health of mankind when its virtues are better known. There are over 100 species of palm, many of them, such as the date, providing food. But the Cocos nucifera is the greatest of them all. In fact, the coconut tree has been in the past such a friend to the native people as to make life impossible without it. Imagine a traveller visiting a South Sea island. He is amazed that the islanders can live in such health and strength, and that their wants can be so easily supplied in such an isolated place. The traveller asks the native, "Who furnishes you with all these things?" The native replies, "My friend the coconut tree." You remember the delightful drink you had on arrival? That was drawn from the fruit before it was mature. The delicious jelly, with the delicate flavour, is made from the kernel before it is ripe. The cream which you found so delicious is made from the kernel when it is mature. The beautiful cabbage, which is a rare delicacy, is actually the terminal bud. It is like cabbage in texture and has a flavour similar to a chestnut. This cabbage has even been canned and is sold under the trade name of the heart of the palm. The natives regard this as a delicacy and is not used excessively on account of the fact that when the cabbage is removed, the tree dies. The islanders make their own cups, bowls, spoons from the hard shell of the nut. The houses are made almost entirely of coconut trees. The wood is used in making their cabins. The leaves are plaited to form a roof which is waterproof. Serviceable and strong umbrellas are made from the leaves and stalks. The clothes they wear are woven from fine strands of fibre taken from the leaves. The mats for the floor are also made in the same way. Sails for their boats are woven of coconut fibres. The ropes and cordage are used for tow ropes on account of the fact they swell and become stronger when wet. The delicately flavoured oil is extracted from the kernel and used for eating, and in their lamps also for illumination. The parchment paper is made from the leaves. Even ink is made from the sawdust derived from the tree trunk. So you can see how useful the coconut tree can be in the tropics. Now for an examination of the coconut as a food. While the coconut may not be as perfect a food for us as it is for the people who live in the tropics, still it is a complete food. The kernel of the nut, the milk, and the cabbage constitute the most perfect food known to man. The analysis of the kernel and milk combined is almost exactly the same as that of human milk. This is a theoretical fact. How do we know that the coconut is such a good food in actual practice? It is fortunate that a set of circumstances led to an experiment being carried out by two scientists. This experiment was not planned, and no possible deception could have entered into it. Just prior to World War I, two German scientists, August Bethmann and August Engelhardt, were sent to the South Sea island of Cabacon. They were to carry out scientific research for the German government. There were no inhabitants on this lonely island, and so the two scientists were to live alone. Their supplies and food had to be brought to them by special steamer every 6 months. The war intervened, and as the island of Cabacon was well off the customary shipping lanes, the two scientists were forgotten. They were on this island for 10 years, and after their food was all used, they had to live on what they could find on the island. The only food was the coconut. They found that they only needed 1 coconut per day. When the war was over, Bethmann and Engelhardt were rescued. They were found to be perfectly fit. What illnesses they had were gone, and they had much greater strength and vitality than before. In fact, it was said by their rescuers that they now had the strength of 2 men. This enforced experiment proved conclusively that not only could man live on coconuts, but that they were sufficient to ensure perfect health. The coconut derives its great virtue from the fact that the kernel in various stages of its development is suitable for human beings of all ages. A baby can drink the nourishing milk. After it is weaned, it can eat the jelly of the young coconut. As the child grows and the teeth develop, the progressively harder kernels can be eaten. Whilst the coconut has a generous supply of all mineral elements, it is particularly rich in that most essential element, potassium. This is the strongly alkaline element which is lacking in many foods and which keeps the arteries supple and youthful and the bloodstream balanced and healthy. We don't have to live on a South Sea island to take advantage of the benefits of the coconut. If people only knew their great value, many more coconuts would be consumed. How should we eat the coconut? Many people object that it is indigestible. As with all other nuts, coconut should be well masticated. As most people have imperfect teeth, it is wise to grate the kernel finely. This grated coconut must be eaten as soon as possible after preparation. Desiccated coconut as sold has practically no food value and is not a substitute for the freshly grated nut. Delicious coconut cream can be made by passing the kernel through an old-fashioned juice extractor. Another way to make the coconut cream is to grate it finely. Add a little water and whip it up in a liquidizer. In this case, some of the flavour is lost, but it is still a delicious food. In the islands, a coconut milk is prepared by grating it finely, mixing it with water, and then pressing through a cloth. This emulsion is used instead of cow's milk. Butter can also be made from coconut cream. Whichever way it is eaten, whether as a fibre, a milk, or a cream, it is a highly nutritious food. What is the secret of the coconut? 3 scientists have done research work on this subject quite independently of each other. They find that coconuts carry powerful radiations similar to radium. But the radium in the coconut is not harmful. The emanations are of benefit to humanity and will not cause destruction as the crude metallic radiations do. It appears that premature old age is largely caused by the cells of the body losing the power to oxygenate themselves. Under the influence of the radium emanation, the cells can reabsorb oxygen and thus rejuvenate themselves more easily. Coconut is of great value in illness. In cases where the powers of assimilation are almost absent, I find that patients can take coconut water when they cannot tolerate tap water. Its use is therefore of great interest and value to the naturopathic profession. I believe that the coconut will prove in the future to be a most valuable staple food. At least we should try to expand its use. There's no doubt at all that the consumption of more coconuts would mean a generally healthier people.